And now we have a fatherhood panel. Yes. Let's go. I think we're going to sit now. And we're going to And now we have a fatherhood panel. Yes. Let's go. I think we're going to sit now. And we're going to do our own based version of The View. Who's ready for that, all right? Oh, you like this better, yeah? All right, no Joy Behar in blackface on this panel. You know, she did that right. I'm not trying to be mean. She wore blackface. She got away with it. Strange, that.
I'm definitely not Whoopi, just so you know.
And he's not Whoopi. That's what he says. Terry Schilling, I don't know what you would be there. You're Kathy Griffin for sure.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry, yeah. We got some alpha dads in the house. Why don't we go down the line and introduce ourselves? Let's start.
My name is John Amanchukwu. Known by the liberal media as the book banning pastor. And so, that's an honor.
I'm Terry Schilling. I am the president of American Principles Project, but most importantly, I am father to 7 children. And my wife's gonna kill me for making this announcement, with our 8th on the way.
I'm Adam Coleman.
Not Whoopi Goldberg.
Not Whoopi Goldberg. I'm an official Monster Liberty fanboy. I've been to every conference. I'm the author of a book called Black Victim, Black Victor, and The Children We Left Behind. Write for the New York Post, so on and so forth. But the most important thing, I'm a husband, just celebrated a 4th year, and I have an adult son, 20 years old, just turned 20.
Yo.
Let me throw this in there, Benny. I've been married to for 17 years, and I have 3 children, John, Patrick, Pamela, and John Jr.
There you go.
Yeah.
Can we normalize that? Can we normalize, like, if you're going to be a man and you're going to sit on a panel, you better be bringing children, right? You better say, yeah, okay, I manned up, all right? And I'm raising babies.
Yes.
That's my first question. Boys, I got good data right here. I know it's not up on the screens, but I can show everyone. Check out this data. Amongst American voters age 30 and under, the #1 priority for Trump male voters is having children, starting a family. For female Trump voters under the age of 30, it's #6. We got to work on that, ladies. Okay, all right. And then for male Kamala voters, which are practically women, it's #10, having kids. And for female Kamala voters, it's #12 out of 12. It is the literal last priority for female Kamala voters. So boys, well done. This is the fatherhood panel. We've been winning this culture war as Trump voters. But there's no such thing as a battle in the culture war that's forever won. And a lot of you men have been fighting an uphill battle, obviously, for years and decades. So how do we keep winning with our young men and proving out that fatherhood should be what you want, what you aspire to as a man?
I'll go first. I think we have to show men as being more than income earners. I think the biggest issue that we face is men and women, unfortunately, believe that the father is just the guy who goes to work, brings home the bread, and gets to knock out and go to sleep. And I grew up without my father. I know what it's like to not have a present father. But I've also talked to many men and women who grew up with a father who technically lived in the home but was just as absent as my father. And they're just as damaged as I was. So I think it's very important, if we're going to show that there's an importance in fathers, we have to show what a proper father looks like. And a proper father looks like a man who does more than earn an income, who spends the most valuable thing that he offers and that anyone offers. And it's something that even Elon Musk can't buy, and that's time. It's his sacrifice for his children, You sacrifice your time for someone that you care about. Any person that you love, you sacrifice your time for them. That's how you know they love you. And in that sacrificial love is something that is incredibly important, and that's what kids take away. Is it nice to take them to Disney? Sure. But they remember how much time you spent with them, those inside jokes. When they needed something, when they wanted to ask advice, being available for them, that is what is the key. So we have to show that there's a deeper meaning to being a father than just the guy who procreates and goes to work.
Word.
I think we've got a crisis with, obviously adults. 40% of Gen Zers say they don't ever want to get married. 43% say they don't want to have children, which, by the way, I get the 43% that say they don't want to have children. I could come up with a million reasons not to have children after having 7 of them. But they're all worth it, trust me. But one thing I don't understand is the 40% who say they don't ever want to get married. I think that's a very sad statistic. It's a lonely statistic. When you think about marriage, you're finding that partner to spend the rest of your life with that's going to have your back through thick and thin, that you're going to have their back. So I think ultimately we've allowed the radical left to create an artificial divide between men and women. Men love women, believe it or not, and women, normal women, love men. But there's been this artificial divide that's come from the left, and it's been operationalized through the Democratic Party, and they've changed our laws. And I think that we need to start going to our children, our young boys. There's gotta be a ton of boy moms in here, right? Boy moms? So, look, boy moms, you have a very important job, because especially if you're on the right, because boy moms on the right, they don't coddle their kids. Right? We let them get scraped knees. We let them get into trouble. We want them out of the house. But, that's right. But you've got to encourage that, right? And you've got to encourage your young boys to be wild and free. Get out of the house. Get off of the video games. Don't get distracted with weed and hookup culture and social media and video games. Get out of the house, find a girl, get in your car, take her on a date. You know what I mean? That's what we got to get back to. So we need the boy moms teaching their boys how to be men, and we need the girl dads teaching their girls how to be respected and how to be treated by young men. That's what I think we start with.
I would say that we have to point out and topple organizations and institutions that seek to destroy the nuclear family.
Yes.
The concept and the idea of the nuclear family does not originally come from the Democrat Party or even from the Republican Party. It comes from God. God's desire is that we would be fruitful, that we would multiply, and that we would replenish the earth. And any institution or organization that seeks to destroy that, we shouldn't support those institutions. And this is why during the summer of 2020 and 2021, I attacked from the infancy what BLM stood for, because on their website, they wanted to destroy the nuclear family. And if you know anything about the fatherlessness rate in the Black community, you know that 70% of Black homes are led by a single parent. And so why would an institution want to destroy the nuclear family knowing those dire statistics? Consider this, from the 1890s all the way up to the 1950s, the Black marriage rate rivaled that of whites. But when welfare states were made and Lyndon B. Johnson came along with this Great Society plan, he destroyed that. And so I think now more than ever, we need men and fathers to speak out against institutions that are intentionally trying to sabotage the nuclear family. We can't allow these things to exist. We have to fight back. We have to push back. And listen, I can recall having my first car seat in the back seat. Man, I was the man. I was the coolest. I was the coolest dude on the block.
Once you could finally get it in.
I'm telling
like, how do you do this?
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
But listen, I figured it out. It was easy, and it's an honor to be a father. It's an honor to be a patriarch. It's an honor to lead a family. It's an honor to be a provider and a protector and a priest of home, and we need to normalize that and make that popular in today's culture.
The natural follow-up that I'd love to hear everyone answer, but that you mentioned, is that the government, you're saying, destroy institutions
Yes.
that attack the nuclear family, that create fatherlessness.
Right.
Well, what attacks the nuclear family more than the incentivization structure of our own federal government to pay single moms more
Correct.
to not have a dad in the household?
Correct.
They used to have government minders go house to house to ensure the father wasn't there.
That's right.
So the lady could get a welfare check. I mean, that's sick, man.
Yeah.
That is a sunken society. So are you saying let's get rid of those programs entirely?
Yes, what I am saying is that welfare is there for people who are going through a short-term lack and they have a need. But it should be a safety net and not a hammock. You shouldn't spend 10 decades on welfare. And we need to monitor how we dole out these funds and support people who are in those positions. My mother was on welfare for about 6 to 7 months, but she didn't like the fact that all 4 of her children were going to school and having to eat from the free and reduced lunch line. So my mom went and took on another job to make sure that all of her children were not in the free or reduced lunch line. What am I saying? I'm saying that you can obtain and reach any pinnacle in society regardless of your pigmentation and of your skin tone and your color. We should not allow the Democrat Party to think that they have a corner on the market for making successful people in America, which they don't. It's the anti-God family. It's the anti-family party. And so we have to point what's going out and make it clear. The Democrat Party wants to destroy the notion of family in America. And I don't believe that Christians should support a political party that seeks to do that. I don't know how you can call yourself a Christian and support the Democrat Party in the first place. And what I'm saying right now is not popular. It's not popular to say, but it needs to be said. It's necessary because we have the Democrat Party position as an entity that seeks to destroy God. They are haters of God, and they are inventors of evil things, and we need to point that out.
I'm personally really happy right now that Kamala Harris is unemployed. I don't know if she's on welfare or not, but I hope she gets the help that she needs. You know what I mean? Okay, so maybe can we broaden this out to the rest of the panel? What should the government be doing to incentivize family creation? How about that?
Well, one, I think we need to stop lying to the people about the priorities that are good or better in our society. We spend billions and millions of dollars in our society telling young girls that their career, that their educational attainment is more valuable than being a mother. Is that accurate? Is being a press associate for Google more valuable than having a baby? I don't think it is, and I think we all know that that's true. But that doesn't stop the federal government, our state governments, our local governments from pushing these ideologies on our young girls at the youngest levels, right? I'm the eldest of 10, full disclosure, but I was talking to, my sister was 12 at the time, but she was number 9. And I asked her, I said, what do you want to be when you grow up? Thinking she would say, a doctor or a lawyer. She said, I want to be a mom. I was blown away. That is what we want our young women to say. And here's the other thing, Benny, that I'll tell you is that I had this conversation with my mom. She was going through that time where she realized she couldn't have any more kids, and she was lamenting it. And she said, I'm just kind of mad at God because he's taking this ability to have children away from me, and I really like having babies. I like having a family. And I said, Mom, you maxed it out. You had 10 kids. But she had this revelation, and it was obviously the Holy Spirit. She said, but then I had this sense of peace. Your youngest brother, Tony's 10 years old now. He's going to be graduating high school in a very short time. I'll be able to go get that college degree or start the coffee shop I wanted to do. And guess what my mom's doing right now? She is the executive director of our local crisis pregnancy center. She's tripled the revenue for that crisis pregnancy center so that she's helping young women have more babies and afford them. That is so beautiful. And by the way, I would hire a mom of 10 kids, 5 kids, 4 kids, 3 kids, over anyone with a college degree and no children.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, You've run a household of 10 kids, 5 kids, whatever it is, 2 kids even. You have management experience. You have life skills. You have seen human beings at their best and at their absolute worst. You know more about humanity than anyone with a doctorate even. So, I don't know, I just think we need to stop lying. We need to stop these government programs that inculcate and indoctrinate our daughters into these lies that careers and education are better than, or I'm sorry, education's important. College degrees are garbage. College degrees are trash. They're not better than being a mother, and we need to stop lying.
What should the government be doing to incentivize fatherhood and parent and family creation?
I might be the outlier, but nothing.
Please, preach.
I think part of the problem is that the government feels that it needs to entrench on everything that we do and incentivize everything. And some of it is our fault. Some of it is us saying, hey, government, you have a bunch of money. Why don't you support this? Why don't you support that? I think the government has its place, but I think most people make decisions based off of their cultural understanding. So while it's true, you know, we have welfare programs and things like that, that's one aspect. But I use my wife as an example. She grew up in Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy, and there was only one family in her neighborhood that had intact family, and they were from the Caribbean. So these weren't people who were all on welfare. This was a cultural understanding. Now, this issue is beyond race. This issue is facing all Americans. It's actually going beyond America and throughout the Western world. You know, when I talk about being without my father, the people who approach me don't look like me. But yet we talk about people who look like me all the time, and they get ignored. So there are children who are, use my book title, there were children who were left behind. And even socially, we don't discuss them. We don't discuss what they're going through. And maybe in some aspects, we talk about single parenthood, but what about the children of divorce? Because they're equally troubled, and no one seems to be advocating for them. Their entire world splits apart because two people can't agree anymore, who made promises to each other that they were going to stay together forever, and 5, 10, 15 years later, they renege on that to the detriment of their children. So while I'm not someone who says divorce shouldn't happen 100% of the time, it has its place just like anything, but I do think that we've become a very individualistic society where we excuse adult behaviors. The adults get to act like children. The children are expected to respond like adults. The children are supposed to be fine and understand that mommy and daddy don't love each other anymore. And I'll just throw you into therapy and you'll be fine. Meanwhile, mom and dad get to go out and date and act like whimsical kids, go into movie theaters. Meanwhile, the kids are wondering when's the next time they're going to see their father. So these are real situations, and I think that culturally we have to make a change. And it's beyond maybe you're doing everything that's right, but what about your sister and your brother? You know that they're abandoning their kids, and you say nothing. Who's advocating for the kids? You hear how they talk about their children and talk to their children. You say nothing. So I do think that it goes beyond the government. It's a cultural shift that we need to have. If you see children being mistreated, and it's easy to say, oh, you know, if they're being physically abused or something like that, not everything is reportable. But they can't come to the cookout. They can't hang out with us. I'm sorry, if you're a deadbeat, you can't be my friend.
For fear of this being taken out of context, because this is not obviously the audience nor the movement to beg for government solutions for everything, I'm not trying to do that exactly, but what I am doing is looking around the world at countries that are seeing collapsing birth rates.
Yeah.
And a lot of governments, whether it's Japan or Hungary, are saying, we're going to do something about it to make sure that we actually put on a pedestal the mother, that we put on a pedestal the father, and that we incentivize this. I mean, I'm no policy guy, right? I'm no Stephen Miller. I have way too much hair for that. But, you know, who would be in favor of, if you have 3 kids as a woman, you pay no more taxes, right? Like you've done kids are expensive. You've done a service to society. You've carried forward our people. And so, like, you pay no taxes for the rest of your life, right? Like, you're good. Thank you. Okay? And I don't know if, well, you have 6 kids, you get a check. I don't know. I'm not. You get a Bitcoin, right?
I'm a big
if you have
fan
6
of
kids,
giving
you get 1
checks to
Bitcoin.
families.
I don't know. I'm not the policy guy. But there are countries that are right now doing programs like that to say, no, 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 we're going to incentivize, we're going to do the opposite of what we've been doing. We're going to incentivize family creation. We're going to say kids are expensive, they're a lot of work, and you're going to get rewarded for carrying forward our people and our culture. What do you think of that?
Well, I agree with it. You know, if we can fund death to the tune of $700 million going to Planned Parenthood every year, then we can fund life. I believe that. If we can do that, I believe that.
Benny, I'll just say, you know, the federal government, the state government, they do social engineering through the tax code, right? If you're a corporation, you start a business, and you buy a company car, you get to deduct that off of your taxes at the end of the year. Corporations pay taxes on their net income. Families pay taxes on their gross income. Why shouldn't we allow families to deduct the cost of having to educate our children? I have to send my kids to a private school because the schools in Fairfax County, Virginia will tell them that men can have babies, and they don't teach them math, right? Why don't I get to write that off at the end of the year in my taxes? That's crazy. But the government does all these things to incentivize capital formation, and they do almost nothing to incentivize family. In fact, they punish family formation. There's a marriage penalty. We got to get rid of the marriage penalty. We got to get rid of every incentive that keeps parents from staying married and children from having parents.
Wow.
Well, the only thing is, when we talk about tax credits, we're talking about people who are already in it. What we want to is incentivize people becoming married and having children. And so what we have to do is hit them, in my opinion, with a private solution. We need to have more movies and TV shows that show families as actually something that's beneficial.
Yeah.
I think the conservatives have not done a good job when it comes to being involved in the culture. We fought against it, but we need to actually be part of it. We need to show, not tell, that being a happy, healthy Christian member of society who has children is something that is ultimately beneficial and rewarding. I wouldn't take anything back about my life, especially when it comes to having my son. My son is part of the reason why I'm here, because I've grown as a man. Becoming married, I wouldn't be doing any of this without the support of my wife. Where every turn, thank you, you can give her a round of applause. My background's in IT. Every term where I was like, should I do this? I don't know. She said, go ahead and do it, right? Sometimes, even as men, we need that extra push, and then we're off to the races. So I do think that we need to affect the culture. The government has its place, but I do think we need to get involved way more into the culture.
Beautiful. We were talking a little bit about Snoop Dogg backstage. Don't ask why, but feel free to tell the story, actually. But you bring up such a great point, that culture is so, we live in a center-right country, but Hollywood, media, and entertainment do not reflect that at all.
Right.
They are straight-up communists, these people, and Antifa members, and they're degenerates, and it's sick, and it's demonic. I think a lot of it is truly spiritual, and it's sunken. And every single father figure that I see projected into society, whether it's Homer Simpson or Peter Griffin or Stan Marsh, everything this side of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, I think, which was a great show, actually.
Yeah.
Great show. Are we Fresh Prince fans? I don't know.
Yes.
I think it's a great, I think that was actually pretty good. I would love to have Uncle Phil as my dad. It's like, smack him around. But everything seems to be denigrating of the father. What was the last really great father figure that was projected, right, by our massive entertainment system?
Yeah.
Did somebody yell one? Give me an example. Who? Oh, Cleaver? Like Beaver Cleaver? Like you leave it to Beaver? That's like the 50s. Anything recent?
Well, Benny, I will
I don't
say,
know.
you had A Quiet Place.
I mean, so yeah, please, this
Right?
is for the panel. I don't mean to but please, how, that would be so great for our young men to look up and see something that projects the father as this honorable figure who's respected in his household, loved by his wife, beloved by his children, who's the man. We don't get a lot of that.
Right.
Well, I'll just say there are recent examples, or at least one that comes to mind, which is A Quiet Place. John Krasinski from The Office created this movie, and if you've seen it, I don't want to ruin the ending, but the father dies for his family, dies to save his children. And he's a very strong father. He's smart, stoic. And the movie was one of the top grossing movies of all time at the box office. It's been one of the most successful franchises. What I'm saying is, there's an opportunity for what Adam's talking about. Yeah. But who in this room is going to take advantage of that opportunity? You can make a ton of money. Hollywood's not interested in making money anymore. They're interested in political power now, right? If they were interested in making money, there'd be 100, The Passion of the Christ, right? That was one of the highest grossing films of all time globally. Yep. They aren't interested in that because they have a political agenda. Who in this room can make movies? Who in this room wants to make money? We need it. So step into the breach because there is an opening, there's an audience. There is a market for selling strong fathers and strong mothers to the American people.
That's good.
Do you see the market for selling strong fathers?
I do. There is a market for clean and wholesome television, documentaries, sitcoms, and shows. But the greatest sitcom, show, TV, commercial, whatever it is how we live our lives with our families. It's what we do daily. Yeah. It's the father that I am to John Patrick, to John Jr., and to Pamela. And it's the husband that I am to Crystal. Yeah. The Bible says that we are living epistles read amongst men. People read your life and what you do. The determination that I've had over these past 3.5 years to at times leave my own family and travel to 22 states, fighting against Marxist, atheists, punks, and perverts who are trying to mentally rape and sodomize our children. That is the greatest sitcom and show that we can produce of what it looks like to be a man and to defend and protect the family. It's what we do daily in our lives.
I mean, I've seen Antifa up close. Man, you'd kick their ass. Like, you know what I mean? Like, these guys, like, I love you going state to state fighting them. I'd watch that. Can we make that a show? Can we make that a show?
New cops.
Woo!
Yeah.
Pay-per-view. I would do it. You'd beat UFC, man.
Yeah, you guys are absolutely right. I remember when my son was younger, we watched Disney and like these Disney Channel shows, and the fathers are always buffoons and the children are smarter than the adults. Yep. And that always discouraged me, and I never really liked it when he watched it. So I would turn it off and have him watch something else. Yeah. But as a shameless plug, I am working with a startup streaming and production company that focuses on family-friendly, healthy content because there is a market for it. You're absolutely right. There is a market for real people who want to see something positive and not degenerate. And so, it's called Thirst Entertainment. Will be coming soon. And you guys can subscribe and watch all of that.
I know that we're almost out of time here, so I just want to go through. There's so much wisdom on this stage. I feel like we could have this conversation for the next couple hours. But could you impart your wisdom to the young people out there who have, again, promising trends? We talked about big issues here, but give some advice. I know that you probably get asked this all the time by young people. Man, how do I get started? How do I make a family? How do I cut it in life? Can we just give them the best distilled wisdom that you have as fathers and strong men?
You want to go first, John?
Yeah, you go ahead.
I'll go? Okay. I will say that I learned how to be a good father by not being my father. And so you may not come from the best of beginnings, but where you end up is up to you. And you can learn from other people's mistakes. And becoming a strong man is a choice. So you can become a victim and say, look where I came from, look how I was treated, how are things going to get better? Or you can take the road that I did. It took me a long time to get to where I am today, but my son changed my life. And so I hope and pray that other young men will see some hope in my story as well.
Beautiful. Live by example. Please, Terry.
It's just common sense. I think we just need to talk to our young people and say, we all talk to them about America and how great our country is. We inculcate them into that. Talk to our kids about the beauty of family, the beauty of becoming a father, the beauty of becoming a mother, how important that is, and how much longer lasting of a legacy that is for the entire world than a college degree or even the best career. Some of the happiest people ever die very poor, but they die surrounded by their 10 children, right? Think about that. That happiness lies in your family. It lies in the intangible, the things that come to us from God, like our children, which, by the way, children are a blessing from the Lord. They don't come from anywhere else, right? College degrees come from woke morons who want to destroy our country. Reject the woke morons and their gifts and accept the gifts from God. That's it.
Boom.
I think now more than ever, we have to talk about the sacred covenant of marriage.
Yes, yes.
Before the children come, there's a marriage there. There's a covenant there. You're not in covenant with your children. There's a relationship with your children, but you're in covenant with your spouse. And it's imperative that children see the magnitude, the greatness, and the blessedness of this divine covenant. And when we normalize the covenant, we make it easy for children to conform to the covenant and desire the covenant for themselves.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're in a good shape, okay? If this is the model that young men have going forward as fathers, can I get a round of applause for our fatherhood panel? Yeah. All right, boys.
Chris.
We go.
I'm new to
break from that. We do our big strategy meetings every
in the meeting here. It's fine because
I need peace.
Hi everyone, welcome to Unleashed with me, Scarlett Johnson, presented by Moms for Liberty. And today I have a guest that's a friend. It's so easy. It's just like having a conversation, talking with you, Terry. This is Terry Schilling, president of American Principles Project. And we want to talk about something today that's really important, a project that you mentioned in one of our last podcasts a couple of months ago. And it's a movie, a very special movie and a very special premiere that you're going to have. And I want you to talk more about it. Your premiere's at Mar-a-Lago, which I will have total FOMO because I can't be there. But my daughter just announced her pregnancy, so
That's great.
I'm flying to Florida to see her. She's doing exactly what you said. She's having more babies. So change of plans, I'm going to see her and help her out a little bit with the 2-year-old while she gets a little bit of rest.
Oh, well, I'm so envious of you, Scarlett. I'm very much looking forward to becoming a grandfather. My eldest is 20, so those that time will be coming soon, I imagine. She's got a nice boyfriend, and hopefully they get married soon. But yeah, it's all about the family. That's what this is all about.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing, and being young and married, and they've got so much energy. I had my kids younger too, and I look back and I see all the things that I did, all the traveling with 5 kids, and sometimes I'm wondered like where if I could only have that energy in a bottle right now, that would be amazing.
Oh man, well that so you're kind of getting into like what the documentary is about a bit. So it's called Fathers Wanted, and it's about the fatherlessness crisis in America, and not just the crisis of fathers abandoning their kids and letting them get run by, raised by the state, and leaving all the work to mom. It's about the fatherlessness crisis where young people are choosing to not get married. They're choosing not to have children. And I think about, we all know that strong families impact society in incredible ways. The kids that are raised in intact, strong families that go to church on Sunday, they get the best grades, they make the most money when they get older, they use the least drugs, they commit suicide at the lowest rate. It's all very boring because of how predictable it is. But what this documentary also looks at is the impact that becoming a parent, becoming specifically a father, has on you as a young man. And it really makes you grow up, right? That when you become a husband, you're saying, my life is not just about me anymore. It's about my wife, and I have to provide for her. But when you become a father, it's like that times a million, because you've not only got the wife to take care of, you've got children, and you get this burning desire to become better and to do things right and provide for your family. It's all biological, it's like psychological. But that's what this documentary explores. It explores my path as a father, my own dad, and his recovery from addiction. It's incredible. And anyone that's interested in finding out more, they can go to fatherswanted.org. But we have some amazing guests in this, and I think it's going to be a groundbreaking documentary when more people see it.
So you say that your father is part of the story and inspired Fathers Wanted. Why could you expand on that, and why is this film so important to you?
Well, so my dad was a recovering alcoholic and recovering drug addict. He got addicted to drugs in high school when his own parents were divorced. And it was traumatic for him. He could kind of keep the addiction at bay for the first few years of my parents' marriage. But when my mom was pregnant with number 4, my brother Joe, who's also in the documentary, my dad hit rock bottom. He was going on 3-day benders. These were serious drugs. It's not just like, marijuana, although that's a serious drug, but he was using crack cocaine. And they would go on 3-day benders and not come home. And my mom, was driven to the point where she was going to file for divorce. And it was that moment where my mom made it clear that he couldn't continue and keep his family, that he chose to return to fatherhood. And so fatherhood for him was his path to recovery, to redemption. And what was really beautiful about my dad's recovery, Scarlett, is that he turned his life around so much that by the time he died and we started becoming more open about his addiction, people just didn't believe it. He was a great businessman. He was a one-term member of Congress from Western Illinois. He ended up having, my brother Joe, who my mom was pregnant with when he got clean, that was number 4. They went on to have 6 more kids. I'm the oldest of 10 kids, right? So you think about if my dad had chosen an alternative lifestyle, how that would have impacted me. I don't think I'd have my 8th kid on the way, right? At
Yeah.
this point, I
Yes.
don't even know if I would have gotten married.
That's amazing. That's an amazing story of redemption that shows that you can choose a different path. I think people struggling with addiction, a big issue is because I've had family members in my life that they can't get past feeling that they have been a disappointment, and they are in this cycle, this cycle where they just have hopelessness, and the understanding that it just starts with that first step towards recovery. And yeah, there's a lot of damage that has to be repaired, but you just have to take that first step. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step. And once they can achieve success and turn things around, they can be some of the some of the greatest leaders and people of our time. I think Robert Kennedy Jr. is another person who was an addict, and look at like then he channeled that into health, into working, into like you just channel some of the drive that into something that's healthy. Some people become more religious, and there's a lot of different ways to combat it, but channeling your everything back into your family to faith. I mean, the 12 steps of alcoholism usually, from what I've learned from some of my cousins that that work with people with addiction, they usually need to be grounded in faith, something higher, a higher power, a calling, something that can help them rise above.
No, and that's what the program teaches you, and you have to repeat that every week, that you are vulnerable, that you cannot do this alone, that you can only do this through the grace of God. And my dad would always say, "There go I, but for the grace of God." Right? And we'd
Yeah.
have all these. We were always, anytime we get frustrated, or my mom would get frustrated with something, he'd say, "God, grant me the serenity," which is obviously
Yeah.
the common prayer for those that suffer from addiction. But look, I just look at this generation of young people depressed or anxious. There's never been higher deaths of despair where people are overdosing. And I think you're exactly right. What makes drugs so terrible is that they're taking the risk takers away from us. They're taking the people that, if they had channeled that energy and that risk, they would use that to
Yeah.
great beauty and great wonder, and they would build enormous skyscrapers, they'd invent new cars. And it takes these people that are just so creative and not risk averse, the game changers, the disruptors, and it takes them out of the field, and it gets them complacent with drugs. And that's what fired my dad up about getting other people clean. That's why he stayed involved in the program for so long. And that's why he literally told me in his final days, my dad passed away in 2021. He had rare intestinal cancer, and we only identified it when it was stage 4. But in his final days, he told me, he's like, "I want you to share the story. I haven't been strong enough to share it myself with more people, but if we can help other men, other fathers get back with their families, other men get clean, let's share the story." Because I'm telling you, Scarlett, it was such a shocker to so many people after he died. I gave the eulogy and I talked about his recovery from addiction, and so many people came up to me afterwards saying, "I had no clue." But that's how great God is, right?
Yes.
If you're open to
Yeah.
him healing you, he can heal you to where people don't even know what happened in the past.
Yes. 100%. That's a great story. So, how old were you when you had your first child?
I was 19. My
Yeah.
my eldest daughter is now 20. She's a sophomore at Illinois State University. But
Wow.
Scarlett, it was my second semester senior year of high school that we found out that my girlfriend was pregnant. And I will tell you, I was never, I guess I was afraid in the beginning, but it was like abortion wasn't even an option. Like, it wasn't even a consideration. It was, how are we going to take care of this baby? Are we going to we actually looked at adoption. We looked at a lot of things, but um, man, when Grace was born, there was no giving her to anyone else. We just had to keep her, and she's easily one of the best human beings I've ever known. She's so talented. She's so musical. She's a fantastic student. I mean, we've never had to really bother her about studying or getting good grades, because she just gets 4.0s all the time. I couldn't be more
That's
proud of her. But yeah,
amazing.
I was 19. I was a much younger Terry and much less facial hair, that's for sure.
Well, that's also an inspiring story, because I think, especially today in 2026, you don't hear a lot of about 19-year-olds getting pregnant and they get married and they have the child, and then fast forward 20 years and you're still married, your wife is having your eighth child, and it's a success story, because often, even in the Christian community, the message is, oh my gosh, like, that's it's doomed to fail. And I think that instead, the message that you can get married, it's not, this doesn't have to be a bad thing. No, it's not what we would tell our kids. That's what you should do in high school. But when it happens, it doesn't have to be the end of a story. It's the beginning of something different. My daughter had her first child young, and she was in college, but it wasn't something that they were expecting. And I know a lot of people would think, tell your daughter to have an abortion. This is a life sentence for her. She'll never achieve her dreams. And of course, she did. She had her baby. She got married. She's graduating from nursing school this June, and she's having another baby, and she's going to get her master's degree. Like nothing is changing any of that. And you find a way. Have a. That's why family's important. Being close to grandparents is important as much as you can, and just know that life can find a way. You can get through this, and it will. 20 years from now, you're going to have a kid that you're going to say, I can't imagine my life without my son or my daughter.
No, that's exactly right. And you really do find a way. And I think what makes abortion so tragic is that you're snuffing someone out before they've even been really given a shot at life and changing the world. Like, it's not just a baby, right? It's someone's future spouse. It's someone's future teacher or doctor, someone's future best friend, right? We're all dependent on each other in incredible ways. And I think ultimately that's what I hate about abortion. That's what I hate about the breakup of the American family and how our government policies over the last several decades have created a situation where it's really tough to afford a family, where it's tough to have enough time to spend with your family. If we were getting policy right, we would be making sure that families had more time together, right? That you didn't have to work as much, that you worked fewer hours for more money, right? That's literally prosperity. That's how you become prosperous, is when you can provide for your family and work fewer days a year. And I think ultimately that should be the goal of every policymaker, is how do we make it so that, it doesn't take you 30 years to own your home, it takes you 20, it takes you 10 years, right? Like, how do we create prosperity and get people from dependency, right? And that includes all the debt that's forced on us just to live these days. So I just look at this next generation, I think, man, you guys are missing out. Like, you're choosing this. Like, you're choosing to not have a family, to not get married, to not have children. It's like choosing poverty. It's like choosing to be homeless. Like, you're choosing to handicap yourself. And I just tell everyone, you don't need to have a million kids. Just be open to whatever God sends your way, because you're never going to regret having a baby. They change your life in incredible ways.
I know that I have read research that states that a lot more women would choose life if they had a supportive partner, if they had basically a father, if their boyfriend stepped up and said, I want you to keep the baby. I will be a part of life, like, or let's get married, or I'll support you. A lot more women would not make the choice of abortion. And so if men stepped up and there was a culture that supported that, I think there's so many issues that, like, this isn't all about men either, that women are told to, instead of, if you're listening to Jordan Peterson, we are supposed to be choosy about our partners because we know that we can get pregnant, and we want to make sure that if we're going to be intimate, it should be, in my opinion, married. But that's not always the case. You try, that's the goal. But that you're with someone that will be a husband and a father. But when we tell women, just behave like a hormonal teenage boy, that's your right. In fact, that's what's empowering. I think you're denying, basically female biology, because that's just not, it's not in our nature. And when we behave that way, we end up depressed, we have anxiety. And so that's my message to women, to my daughters, is don't believe the lie of the far left feminism. Like, their path will not make you happy. What is your message to your sons and to men?
Well, I'm so glad you brought this up, because I think it's greatly undercovered, especially when you're dealing with abortion and choosing life. We often, a lot of times, we talk about the doctors, we blame the women. But you're exactly right. All of the studies show that if the woman felt like she had the support that she needed to raise a child, abortion wouldn't be thinkable. And so,
Mhm.
I talk to my boys. You have to establish responsibility in them at very early ages, right? And you do that by chores, by little things, by showing them that they have responsibilities to the household, to their family, and this is not a hotel where you just come, eat, and sleep and study and then go to school. This is a house and it's a family, and you have responsibilities and duties, and your greatest duty and responsibility is to your children, right? And you have to you also learn a lot, and you teach your kids a lot by teaching them how to deal with their sisters, how to deal with their
Yes.
brothers, right? Like you
Yes.
model this stuff as a man, and so you talk to your boys a lot, you take them out. But Charlotte, or Scarlett, I'm sorry, I would just go a little bit further and say that I think, yes, if the father was more involved, but I also think that if the father of the mother of the unborn baby was more involved and supportive, I think there'd be a lot fewer abortions. Like my daughters, my message to them is always, we'll figure it out. Right?
Yes.
Whatever problem you have, whatever
100%.
trouble you're in, like we will figure it out. Like I'm your best friend with this stuff. And I think that also requires building trust, right? Like talking to them, building relationship with, spending time with them. And to the dads listening, or the moms listening that can then tell the dads, you know, the one-on-one time is so critical, but it doesn't have to be like hours at a time. It can literally just be like, hey, let's go get a Slurpee at 7-Eleven, a 5-10 minute trip down the street. And that's a lot of time actually of just one-on-one. You get a chance to catch up real quick. Your kids just need to know that you're there and that you love them and support them. And I think that makes a lot of things interesting. But I think we go wrong on with our daughters and our boys when we blow things out of proportion, right? Like
Yeah.
at the end of the day, even if you're unmarried and you're pregnant, like blessed be the name of the Lord. This is a
Yes.
new human being that
It's a
God
life.
created, that He willed
Yep.
into being, and we're going to take care of this baby. We got to figure out a plan. So I don't know. I think we need to embrace life more. What's so
Babies are
bad about
blessings. Babies are
yes,
blessings.
yes, that's it. And they are willed into existence by
Yes.
God. Like who am I to question that? I'm no one. I'm just Terry Schilling.
Yes, babies are blessings, and even if wasn't part of the plan, I mean, I've had 5 kids, and only one of them were we trying. It was all surprise. It was all
A lot of
surprises.
extra wine on
Like,
your wedding
oops.
night
Yeah.
anniversary.
Yes, it's like, oh, I wasn't planning, but the minute it's a life and has purpose. I couldn't imagine my life without any of my children and grandchildren. So, there's a empty space where a human being was supposed to be, and we want to encourage life. And when you're talking about for sons, and I have one son, 4 daughters, but I think modeling behavior, but also as a mom, he was never to raise his voice to his sisters or to me, never lay a finger on a woman, always pay for a date. I don't care what it is.
Yes.
If you have $5, she
Yes.
doesn't pay, you pay. You open the door, you go meet the parents. And they're diamonds in the rough. You raise your children like this, and they're diamonds in the rough. I have 2 nephews. They are amazing, and they have been raised in the church. They've been raised to be strong. My brother's an ex-Marine as well, but they're also kind. And it is so rare. So many people will just tell when I'm with them, like it's so a boy like that. Oh my gosh, polite, kind. How can I help you? We can do it. It's not perfect. My brother's not perfect. I was not a perfect parent. We messed up all the time, but the thing that we did do was just consciously and with effort raised our son to be a man.
Yeah. No, that's exactly right. And we actually explore this theme. So one of the people that we interview is Bishop Robert Barron, out of Rochester, Minnesota. And he has a whole section where he talks about how becoming a father is critical to growing up, right? And taking on responsibilities, living for other people rather than yourselves. And he brings up the example of the playboy, right? A playboy is someone that just lives for themselves, the lavish lifestyle. It's very narcissistic and self-centered, but they're a playboy. They're not a play man, right?
Yeah.
And they're stuck in adolescence. And
Yes.
I really don't think that you become an adult until you start focusing and serving other people. And that's the big difference. And I think that we are by eliminating fatherhood and by eliminating families, we're prolonging adolescence. I mean, think about like how long people stay in college now and get advanced degrees
Yep.
and they're dumber than ever, right? Like they're not
Yeah.
actually smarter or better off after getting the degree, but they still act like children. They still think like children. They think, what's next for me? What's next for... I don't know the last time I really thought about my needs because I have 7
I
kids with
know.
another on the
I
way and
know.
a wife at home. I got a staff here at APP. You know, my whole life I'm trying, and any bit of me, any bit of my life that's still about me, I'm, you know, trying to readjust so it's not as much about me. I think your legacy is always like in the impact you have on other people, right?
Yeah.
And you experience that when a parent dies and you have all their friends and the people they helped in their life coming up to you saying what they did for them, what your dad did for them. And it's a real eye opener and it really changed your perspective on everything.
I know we talk a lot about unaffordability of things and we do need some solutions. We could talk more about that, but one of my daughters just recently asked my husband, like, how did you become successful? At what point, did you finally like achieve some more of that financial success? And he said, honestly, the when having another kid, like usually we're pregnant, we're having another kid, he said I had to think to myself, I just strategized, okay, I've got to work harder. I've got to get up earlier. I've got to figure out how I'm going to take care of my family. He didn't think how, like, send Scarlett out to the workforce, you go get a job, or what government program can I have? It was like, what am I going to need to do to take care of my family's needs? And I had more fire in my belly than the guys around me who did not have children.
It's so true. I mean, it's been my own experience, right? With every new baby, it's like a burning feeling. Like you feel that fire and it's hot because you don't want to fail, right? Like if you fail as a father, which by the way, you're not going to fail, right? Like you just got to keep trying. Like you only fail if you give up, right? And that's where I think a lot of men go wrong. And a lot of what's the problem now is that a lot of young men are giving up before even trying to have a family
Yeah.
because they're so worried and anxious about being able to provide. But you'll figure it out. But yeah, no, with every new kid we had, well, I will say 2 things, right? You do feel this immense pressure, but I've come to rely a lot more on God.
Yeah.
And so I'm less stressed because I've I've kind of been forced to accept that not everything's in my control, that I do have to rely on God to support us. And don't get me wrong, it's not always sunshine and rainbows and
Yeah.
flourishing and prosperity. A lot of times it's tough
Struggle.
and you
Yeah.
got to make tough calls and you got to sacrifice. But Scarlett, you know this as a mom. Love is fake unless there's sacrifice, right? How do you prove your love for someone without sacrificing? You can't. You can
Yeah.
only prove like Christ's death on the cross is the ultimate example of love. Why? Because he sacrificed his life and everything for all of us. It's the ultimate sign of love. And
Mhm.
and he even says there's no greater love than this, that one would lay down their life for their friends and others. Like
Yeah.
that is love. And it's about how willing you are to sacrifice for your own flesh and blood. And I'm sorry, Scarlett, I just reject the idea that you're going to sacrifice for complete strangers, for illegal immigrants, for the Palestinians, for whatever new, group comes up that's the fad at the time. You're not going to sacrifice for them if you're unwilling to sacrifice for your own flesh and blood, right? This is just logical. This is just biology. You have a biological drive in you when you have a baby to provide for those kids. And if you're not willing to provide for them and sacrifice for them, then give me a break. You don't really love the illegal immigrants that are here. You don't really love, the Palestinians. You don't really love all these minority groups that you claim to love. You're just a paid activist. You're controlled. Your mind is controlled by these people, and you just regurgitate talking points.
Yes. I mean, not all of us can take our kid to a Somalian daycare in Minnesota. Um,
It's so sad.
I know
It'd be funnier if it wasn't so egregious and sad.
well, what what's really egregious is the misuse of those funds. The federal government getting involved in daycare keeps the cost of daycare at this shocking high rate. A young woman just recently told me how much daycare costs and she couldn't afford it. And I said, blame the government because they are subsidizing so much daycare that that it's unaffordable if you are above the poverty line, if you are middle class and you're finally getting to the point that you're okay, we can make it, and maybe I need part-time daycare. Well, you go look into it, and the costs are so high because the majority of those using the daycare have some type of federal subsidy. I think that the government getting involved in this, as so many other things, has the unintended consequence of raising the prices for everybody. And so that was just something I dealt with. But I think it's not just dads too. As a mom, like you learn how to have a eBay store where I would sell clothes that the kids grew out of and use the money and buy new clothes. You just find things that I could do and be a homemaker. How could I make a little extra? How could I stretch $1? Coupon clipping. And I think that you and I have discussed this before, that after 4 years of Joe Biden's disastrous policies and inflation, right now it's harder for young people to make that dollar stretch. And so I know the Trump administration and many people are trying to figure out the solution to some of these issues. But even now, even if you hear the noise that, oh, it's just too hard, I promise you'll find a way. There is a way. You do not have to say, I can't have children, I can't afford them, I can't get married, I can't afford it. Do not sacrifice life's blessings in order, because because you hear this messaging that don't do it, you can't afford it, your life will be hard. Is that something that you address in this movie as well?
Yeah, so essentially make the argument. We don't use these specific numbers, but I do firmly believe that the reason why we're suffering from this crisis is it's very much spiritual. But if you were to break it down in just terms of, and I would count spiritual as part of the culture, if you were to break this problem down between economic and cultural, I'd say it's about 60-40 cultural. Now, that's not to say that the economics don't matter. They absolutely do. When you punish people, there's marriage penalties right now, Scarlett, and they've
Yeah.
been marriage penalties on the books for decades. Think about this. Littering in the 70s was an enormous problem. Enormous. Like everyone littered. There wasn't garbage cans everywhere. You didn't get a fine. We basically eliminated the vast majority of littering simply by instituting 25 and 50 and $75 fines, right? And that's stopping littering for $75 a pop. The marriage penalties are upwards of $30,000 a year,
Yeah.
right? So when you punish people when they get married by taking away $30,000 in benefits or increasing their taxes by that much, that's a real cost. And that's going to keep a lot of people, especially people that know these programs, which, by the way, if you have any family members that have ever been on government assistance, they know the rules of these programs. And they have social workers that help guide them, that they meet with on a regular basis. So when they go to that social worker and they say, "Oh, where'd you get that ring?" "Oh, well, we're getting married in a couple months. I'm so excited. We're going to start a family." "Oh, well, that's going to be really bad for your benefits. You're going to lose about $2,500 a month." And I know we're talking about benefits, but that's so short-sighted. It's really bad, right? Marriage and family is actually how you get out of poverty, right? The vast majority of people that are on welfare are not married. They're single. A lot of them don't even have children. And it's a total nightmare. So I don't know. There's so much that we got to cover, but the housing is a major problem that we talk about. We talk about the marriage penalties. You brought up childcare. I want to make something very clear about childcare and subsidies, especially for childcare. First and foremost, subsidies for childcare actually don't lower prices. We have seen more subsidies than ever with childcare, and guess what? The price just keeps going up, and it takes more and more of our income. That's because of one simple factor. Prices are set by corporations to be the highest possible amount that people are able and willing to pay. And the
Yep.
government can give them subsidies and help cut down those costs, but unless they have price controls, which is a whole other problem, unless they
Yeah.
have price controls, they're just going to charge you what it costs and what they can make from you. The second problem with childcare and subsidizing it is that it actually doesn't help increase birth rates or marriage rates. In fact, it gets parents separated from their children even more. In Singapore, for example, it's basically the custom where you'll have young girls will live with you and basically serve as nannies for dirt cheap. A lot of them just live in the house for free and take care of the kids. Their birth rate is at 1.0, and you need to be at 2.1 for replacement rates. So the subsidizing daycare thing, it just doesn't work, and it costs an extra money, and it actually increases your childcare costs.
I think what works is if providing having an economy where the mom can stay home for at least a period of time and be a homemaker, and a family can live off one income or at least one income, and mom can work part-time, or if mom's makes more money, dad can work part-time, just so that there's more parents can be home more. And so I think then that is where, when there's a homemaker, there's a lot of kids.
Yep.
And that's with me. Like, and then you just get used to it. That becomes just your way of life. You have children, and then you have friends who have children. I mean, this was the culture I grew up with. Multiple kids, moms get together, play dates, groups. We were always figuring out, like, oh, did you see that consignment store, that resale shop? You trade clothes, a
Yep.
bartering system, you come together, especially in the military. This was the way things were. I think you said culture materialism has created unrealistic expectations that you don't need that, and it doesn't make you happier. I tell my kids all the time, some of the happiest days were when we did not have as much money and you kids were young, and right, if you looked right now where I'm looking, my wall is adorned with all of these pictures of them when they were younger. And and the money was tighter, but we just made it work, and we had so much fun with the kids. And just that message, we just need that messaging out there more, that you don't have to have a 4-bedroom, 4,000 square foot house to have 2 kids. Every
No,
kid doesn't
that's
need
so
their own
true.
bathroom.
That's right. And look, you can, the reality is that families are a lot more economical than any other thing out there, right? Any other arrangement. You have a husband and a wife with children. Guess what? I'm not just getting 29 miles per gallon. I am getting 29 miles per gallon per person in my 8-passenger minivan, right? Like, I'm actually transporting a lot more people for fewer, gallons of gas and fewer money than a lot of other people driving even those hybrid cars out there. But no, you
And you have
don't need to
lots of
have money.
babysitters. Your kids that can be babysitters.
That is so your children do. For all the young parents that are watching, and you got 3-year-olds, 2-year-olds, I promise you, there's going to be a day where they turn to assets, where they actually can help clean, they can do the
Yes.
babysitting. And Charlotte, or Scarlett, I'm sorry, I keep calling you Charlotte, I don't know why. Scarlett, the coolest thing about a family that I've recently picked up on is you have enough kids and you essentially have created an ecosystem for your
Yes.
family. So you have rules, and you got to work really hard with the older ones, the firstborns, to institute those rules and make them real. But there's a certain point where then the kids start self-enforcing the rules on the other kids, because kids
Yep.
love hierarchies. They love being older than the other ones because they get to tell the other ones what to do. And so it's so natural. It's so beautiful. Like, our house gets clean every Saturday morning by the kids because they know if they don't, they're not going to go to the movies. They're not going to go to 7-Eleven. You want these rewards? Well, you got to work for it. You got to earn it. And I don't know. It kind of gets to a point where we're on autopilot, and then you're just dealing with like drama. But
Yeah.
the littlest kids, those are always the tough. Like, part of this new one coming, it's like, oh my gosh, another 2.5 years of diapers, another
Yes.
2.5 years of messes. But you know what?
There's other
It's
kids
all
that
worth
can
it.
help with all of that. My son, who's a doctor now, they'll ask him like, "Oh, you're so good with kids, or you're so good." He was like, because he was changing diapers when he was 10 years old. He was babysitting. He was driving his sisters around. He was helping, he had to help clean. He cooks. He does dishes. His wife now is very grateful that when she's had a long day, she'll come home and he's cooked and done the dishes and cleaned up because he had responsibility. The oldest and with little ones, under him, he had
Mhm.
responsibility. My daughters, like and they crave it, they need it, and
Yep.
it's good for them. They're not little slaves, although they may tell you that every once in a while, like I'm not a slave. It's like, but they, you build an ecosystem, and then if you even add that you have cousins, that's what I would encourage. Like, stay as, if you can, stay as close to your family as possible, because you could have grandparents, cousins, aunts, uncles, great aunts and uncles, and then you form a real ecosystem of support and help. And, each one takes turns. When one is in need, someone is there. And that I think that some of the things that have happened culturally have really hurt that really important ecosystem that sustains us.
Yes, and so I would say there's a few things, right? First of all, we tell women that once they start having kids, their life is basically coming to an end. The reality is that's actually when your life really begins. Uh, my mom had 10 kids. We've talked about that earlier, but she can't have kids anymore. So guess what she's doing? And the youngest is 15. She's running the local crisis pregnancy center. She has a
Wow.
job now. And by the way, she's crushing it. She's raised more money for them than any other previous executive director. And it makes so much sense, Scarlett, because like my mom has severe management experience. Like she's managed a family of 10 kids, like very
Yeah.
responsible. I would hire a mom of a large family over anyone without kids and a doctorate, right? Like it's a no-brainer. Like, do I want someone that's gonna lecture me all the time about how wrong I am because they really haven't experienced anything in the world? No, I'm gonna hire the mom of a big family because she knows how to work and she's not afraid to get her hands dirty, and she's probably going to be a lot wiser and smarter than anyone else. You learn about humanity when you raise children. Like you see, you know, everyone's like, when they hear about a kid in school saying something racist, they're like, oh, he had to have been taught that. I don't know, man. Kids need a lot of formation. Like a lot of times, kids just make up stuff and
Mhm.
they need formation. So you see kids at like their best, at their worst. You just see little human beings, and you learn a lot by raising them.
Well, and I think that and we're talking about fatherhood, but as a younger mom, I was a homemaker for over 20 years. And now I'm the social media manager for Moms for Liberty. There is a second act. I had my kids young, and I was there for every minute of it and volunteer. And I still have two kids that high school and middle school. So I have a job where I can do both. But right now, you can have a second act. You may not have that career when you're in your early 20s, but honestly, like I know so much more now than I did in my early 20s. And there's a wealth of experience that you bring into your career. And I'm grateful for my husband, who was a good father and continues to be, because guess what? He put his time in his 20s. He worked 80
Right.
hours a week. Now he doesn't have to work that much. So he can be home more and he can do carpool. So I could go and do something different. And that's the balancing, a good man, a good father that provides. And now he's built something and he can rest a little bit more. And now and he allows me the opportunity to do some things where I can work outside of the house. That is, I just want more people to hear that message, that you maybe can't have it all at once, but you sure can have a really fulfilling life. And, having children, being a dad is so important. I have four daughters, and one is married, so I'm happy, but I worry and they worry. My teenage daughters worry. Where are the men? My 7-year-old just said that to me a couple weeks ago, like, Mom, where are the men like Dad? Are there any
Mhm.
left? Are there any out there? And she's a beautiful, smart woman, and any guy will be lucky to have her. But you bet we need men. We need fathers.
Yep.
We need them desperately because there's a whole, our daughters, my daughter needs a good man to build a life with.
No, I think that's exactly right, and that's why this documentary is going after young men. I did the Lincoln Fellowship at the Claremont Institute with Charlie Kirk back in 2021, and what it is it's basically 12 up and coming leaders or public policy staffers on Capitol Hill, those types of people. You go out and do a 10-day basically America retreat. You learn about the founding fathers. You have discussions about current issues and what you would do to solve them. And there was an interesting point where we were talking about families and who was at fault for the marriage crisis. Is it men who aren't stepping up to their responsibilities? Is it women just going to college and rejecting that? And Charlie was debating one of the girls there, and she was arguing it was men. He was arguing it was women. And Charlie turned to me and he said, "What do you think, Terry? This is what you work on." And I said, I just think that like men, if they're actually the head of the household, like it says in the Bible, they kind of got to be the ones that have their stuff together first, right? And they got to be the ones pursuing women, right? I think at the end of the day, it's kind of weird if a woman is pursuing a man. I don't know what that is. It's just like it just appears weird to me. I think that men should be pursuing women and that they should be looking for a wife and they should be very serious about it. And when you're watching porn or when you're doing hookup apps and hookup culture, you're not looking for a wife. You're actually taking advantage of the very people that you're supposed to be looking out for and protecting. And that's where much of male culture has gone these days is they're fundamentally unserious about the real things that matter, right? What matters is who you get married to. That's going to be the most important decision you ever make in your entire life. Whoever you marry, it's not your college degree. It's not even. By the way, I just want to say, children and family are not a distraction from college and career.
Yeah.
In fact, college and career at this point is a distraction from family and children. That's period. End of story. You can go to college in your 30s. You can have a career in your 40s. You know what you can't do? Have kids. It's a
Yes.
lot more difficult to have kids in your late 30s and 40s than it is when you're in your 20s and early 30s. It infinitely more difficult. And I just think it's so tragic that essentially corporate America took over. They sold us a bill of goods that no, actually, it's empowering to force the moms and dads into the workforce to make literally half as much money because both parents have to work now to provide. It's just so criminal. They stole families from them. They stole children from them, and they convinced them that going on a third or fourth vacation of the year was a lot more enticing and fulfilling than having another kid. I don't know. It's just so sad. So we're trying to break that cycle, that marriage crisis cycle that we're in, where 40% of Gen Zers say they don't think they'll ever get married. That
Yeah.
is so sad. So sad. And I don't know. I just feel so bad for them. So we got to break this out of them because
Yes.
it's such a beautiful life to live when you have a family.
Responsibility brings meaning to life. You don't have responsibility. You will have a life without a lot of meaning. And I think that these are the people that are always searching. They're trying to fill the void. But I'm thinking about the movie Nicolas Cage and the Family Man. And like if you haven't watched it, you should watch it. We watched it over Christmas.
It's
And to
fantastic.
me, it's great. It was, he starts off because he was this high-powered businessman, had everything he ever wanted. And then he wakes up and he's in a whole nother life where he made a decision and he has 2 kids and he's in a house that's not perfect and all of this. And by the end of it, he doesn't want to leave it. Like this other life, he had friends, he had purpose. He had, the walls had handprints on them, but it's all the cliches are true. If you don't have a purpose, if you aren't providing for someone else, if you're always just thinking about yourself, I think that Chelsea Handler can do all the videos that she wants. It's not real. You're not a person filled with joy and happiness. So in
No, and remember when we did Dr. Phil and
yes,
they put us up against those child free by choice people, and they're like lecturing us, the people that actually got married and had kids. They're lecturing us about how much better their lives are without children. How would you know? Like, how would you know? And I'm sorry. I'm sure everyone else has very cute kids that are absolutely lovable. I have several that I love, but there's nothing like your own children, right? Like, no one, you can't judge whether or not you and your husband should have children based off of other people's kids. That's like a really bad reference point, right? But yeah, I found that whole conversation at the end of, I've reflected a lot about it just because, one, I don't think it was a fair system. I don't think
no.
child
Mm-mm.
free by choice. You're trying to create a political movement. You're trying to encourage more people to stop having children, which is pathetic. It's really
Yes.
sick and demented. Like, what is it to you if I have more children? But I've thought a lot about that, and I think the thing that's so asinine is that the people who have no experience having children, literally have never held their own baby in their arms, are telling a group of people that they shouldn't have children. You don't know. Like that would be like me saying, don't go to Disney World. Have you ever gone? No. Well, then how do you know? Right? Like,
Yes.
if you haven't been
Yeah.
to Disney World, you have no right to tell other people not to go to Disney World. And I think it's even like worse for people that tell other people not to have children when they haven't had them themselves.
Well, that Dr. Phil episode, they made it look like we were trying to force people to have children. And the whole point was because they didn't really play the clips that we had seen beforehand. Um, I'm sure you saw the same things that I did, but that they were TikTokers that were basically promoting what you shouldn't have kids. You can go to Disney World without kids, which I don't know why you would do that, but you could you could do all these things without kids. You don't need kids. Like you're so much fun without kids. Like I'm not having kids. We're eating. We're going. They were
We're
going.
dinks.
Yeah, we're dinks. They were going to like Sam's Club without kids. I'm like, why would you go buy food
Why do
in
you need a
bulk?
Sam's Club membership if you don't have children?
They were buying cookies in bulk and all this. And they're so happy. But to me, they're filling an empty life with a lot of stuff. And I don't think that these are people that are probably gonna be married in 10 years. And then one of the ladies was like took videos of her cat to me, which all said like that's her baby. She substitute her maternal instinct now has been transferred to her cat or her many cats, or so that female, that maternal instinct and even the paternal, all of our instincts will get transferred somewhere else. And it's
Yeah.
not good,
No, and you see this actually playing out before us, right? There was a recent survey that's been done year after year. I think it's by Gallup or Pew that's been tracking political ideologies based on men and women. And what they've shown is that men have remained pretty consistent, like they really haven't gone further right or further left. What's happening is women are becoming radicalized.
Yeah.
And you see these protests, and it's always women that are supporting Palestinian rights. And it's like, well, they would
Ugh.
want you in a burqa, and they don't want you showing, definitely don't want you in a bikini at the beach. I'll tell you that. They don't support abortion. Like, they support all these crazy things. They are supporting the rapists and the murderers that are killing young women across the country, the illegal immigrants and the gang members. Kilmar Abrego Garcia has like a group of friggin' what do they call them? I don't know. Not roadies, but
Yeah.
groupies, like they have
Yes.
their own fan bases
Oh,
and
yes. Oh,
it's
yes.
gross. Like, why are women on the front lines defending all of the criminals, all of the like people that would put them in prison and put them in burqas? It's because they don't have children,
Yeah.
right? Like they are maternalizing complete strangers. Um, and it's totally crazy.
And they look to the government as a father figure, or they look to an authoritarian as a husband or father to take care of them.
Yep.
So they're looking, so essentially they're looking to this more masculine entity to protect them and take care of them. And that can be authoritarian. And then they are trying to mother wounded animals or they like beings that need them, and I think they're that's being weaponized to like the trans men, like men who think that they're women, transgender women, which doesn't exist, but and they're because it doesn't explain and this this scenario was explained by a feminist, and when she said that it's women and they're just this toxic empathy, I'm like, oh, that makes sense, because just didn't understand how these women like are protecting rapists. Well, they don't have children, and
Right.
they've never actually, they also have been very privileged. They have not been poor. They've not been raised in the ghetto like I have. They have not seen the effects of violent crime and criminals. And so they have all this empathy for people they don't understand. And they really need to talk to women who've been victimized and children. Instead, they're kind of on college campuses talking to Marxist professors.
Well, one thing I've picked up on, and this is through the people I've met in my life, but it started with having these long conversations with my great grandmother. Uh, she was born in 1922, had a very rough life. Like, she would tell us about their meals they would eat growing up and how their dad wasn't making very much money. And I realized this because she was so joyful. She was always positive, optimistic. Like, the people that actually suffer, that aren't comfortable, that the people that like don't come from privilege, that have had real injustices inflicted on them, these are actually the people that really complain the least, right? They're the ones that are really just happy just to have a normal day, right? When you've been abused your whole life and mistreated, you kind of are just so grateful that you're not getting mistreated. Now that's not ideal, but I'm just pointing that out to say that these people that are constantly whining, Ilhan Omar, it's a great example. She's from Somalia. Like, it's the country in the world that has like the highest rates of rape and murder and violence and like theft. It's a horrible place to come from, horrible place to live. We brought her in as a refugee, right, at a young age, and she just complains all the time.
Yeah,
Whines, complains about
yeah,
America. I'm sorry, is America better or worse than Somalia? Because if it's
yeah.
better, you should be kissing the ground you walk on when you're in the halls of Congress because you're welcome. I think America's the best country in the world. I wouldn't live anywhere else. But all these people that complain about our system, like, complain if you were born here. I get that. But if you're from Somalia, you need to sit down because you're not in a position to lecture really anyone.
Yeah, and I think that they may fight alongside kind of Marxist, far left, feminist radicals, but if these Somali women who are like they can only show their face, they live lives of that are far more traditional than you and I in very traditional roles. So it's really kind of a lie. They're aligned with this radical left for a political reason, a financial reason, but that's not how they live their lives. They live their lives in a more traditional manner, and then but they fight alongside radicals. It's a juxtaposition that's very strange, and I but the mainstream media doesn't call it out. They just kind of let all of that slide, and the fact that there is a lesbian radical Marxist and she's fighting for a Muslim woman who can't even show her hair in public and probably very traditional. To me, it's they're not like they're this is just strange. They're not communicating because the radicals, they if they were to live in Somalia, their lifestyle would be one that would not be tolerated. So to say that,
No, that's exactly right. They definitely don't. They're not going to let them run for public office and be in
no,
Congress. I'll tell you that.
no, they're not
Uh,
going to let that. Well, we're coming to now. We're coming to an end. So to talk more about your film, when will the public be able to see it? And what is something when, so we could all watch it. When will we be able to see it? And talk a little bit more about your event next week.
Well, we're doing the premiere. We're doing a test run of this at Mar-a-Lago next Tuesday, January 27th. You can go to fatherswanted.org to see the trailer, to look at if you're interested in coming to it. You can get tickets there. We don't have a launch date for when the movie is going to be available to the public. However, I can tell you that it's going to be hosted on the Tucker Carlson network.
Oh,
Tucker
wow.
himself is in the documentary
Wow.
quite a bit, but we've got Bishop Robert Barron, Coach Tommy Tuberville. We've got Senator Jim Banks. Brandon Gill is in it. We've got Lyman Stone in it, who's a demographer that's lived in East Asia, and he's seen these countries where families fall apart and they stop having children. It is a groundbreaking documentary. I'm very proud of it. Yeah, we're going to go around the country, though, with showings. We're going to have meet and greets. So if you aren't a subscriber to Tucker Carlson Network, you'll be able to come to one of our events when we host them around across the country. And I'll make sure to get you all the dates once we have those all set out.
Yes, if you're like anywhere in the Midwest, that would be great if I'm here or if I'm in DC or something. But yeah, so so if you're like, and I'll put more info on this when this goes live. I look forward to seeing the whole film, and that sounds like a star-studded cast of folks that are there. We just had something Tommy Tuberville said in front of the Supreme Court that was so fun. He gave a fantastic speech, and it went kind of viral with some of the things that he says. But he's an amazing Tucker Carlson, Bishop Barron, so many others. So this is a great. Thank you for what you're doing. It's much needed. We do need strong fathers. Moms for Liberty is great, but we need dads for liberty. We need strong men, and men bring something different to the table.
Yes.
They are a force to be reckoned with. And right now, I think a lot of our cultural decline is because there's this radical sort of female vibe it's not actually feminine in the sense it's something that it's going to be it's harmful for women, and it's definitely detrimental to men.
Yeah, no, look, I really appreciate me coming on. But regarding what's going on with women, there is nothing more anti-woman at this point today than radical feminism, right? It's not actually feminine. It's not actually promoting women. It's actually erasing womanhood. And you
Yeah.
can tell that because all of the major feminist leaders, they've all endorsed the trans movement, right? They've all endorsed the trans industry, the $4.5 billion trans industry that sterilizes children, that puts men in women's spaces, that puts men in women's sports, takes away their opportunities in education and sports, and makes them less safe in their own private spaces, right? Like there's some
Yeah.
horror stories just right here in Virginia of men just being total creeps and claiming
Yeah.
to be women in the women's showers and locker rooms with little kids, And so feminism, no one hates women more than feminism, right? And the feminists want to destroy womanhood. That's why they're against motherhood. That's why they love abortion. They don't talk about anything besides abortion and birth control. Like, I'm sorry, women have a competitive advantage to men, and they really have something incredible. They can create new human beings. Elon Musk is about to be a trillionaire because he's going to create a bunch of robots. Women create new human beings.
Yes.
Like that's more
Yes.
special than what Elon's doing with robots,
Yes.
and it's a lot more important. I'm totally with you. I think the feminists have sold. I think the feminists were co-opted by the corporations to get women out of the home, to have more government control, to have the government become daddy, and to make women a lot less happy because women have never been less happy and they've never
Yeah.
had fewer children. They've never been in less stable relationships and marriages. And I think we really want to turn the tide on all these major issues. We got to get back to family.
Yeah. Women have been sold a story, they've been sold a lie. And I think men have too. And I'm glad that you have a message out for men to be men, to be protectors. And so, you keep fighting for strong men, and we'll keep fighting for strong women that
We love
reject
the
the lie of
moms.
feminism. And the best thing we can do is have kids, raise them right, and send them off into the world because they aren't having kids. They abort their kids, they trans their kids, and their kids can't procreate. We have the kids. That's why they're coming after ours. So we've got to raise them to be strong. We've got to talk politics at the table. We've got to talk about our values. We can't shy away from these issues. That was a thing of the past. I think the old the old GOP thing. Let's not talk about politics or this stuff. I talk about it. They know how I feel. And you ingrain that into them, because the world is going to try its hardest to take all of those values out. But if you raise your child the way they should go, when they're old, they will not depart from it.
I couldn't agree more. So fatherswanted.org, check it out. I'm so grateful you had me on, Scarlett. I love this conversation blew right by. It was like talking to an old friend, because you are an old friend at this point.
Yes, thank you. Well, yes, and American Principles Project, that we'll have some more information about that so everyone can be involved. So thanks, Terry, for being on.
Thanks, Scarlett. In 1960, the average American family had over 3 kids. Today, it's less than 2, and dropping fast. Before we can fix the future, we have to understand the crisis that we're in today. Men aren't having kids. Birth rates are falling fast. And many men are afraid of losing their freedom, afraid they can't provide. They're afraid they'll fail. But these fears aren't happening in a vacuum. They're the result of deep cultural forces.